What's good, everybody? My name is Joshua McLean, and welcome to the Sew Rogan Experience. Hey, welcome back to the show. We are on, and we are having so much fun, and I just cannot wait to keep this going. And I just have to start off by saying thank you, guys. The response has been phenomenal. So thank you so much, genuinely. So our next guest is somebody who I've only met one time, actually. And I was immediately kind of drawn to her vibe. She was a few booths down from me at the Daytona Quilt Show. And I'm not going to say we hit it off because unfortunately we didn't get that much time to spend together. But I started basically stalking her on social media and I go, oh, yeah, this is my type of people. So I reached out and I said, can you come do the show? And she thankfully said yes. So let me bring Angie from Five Little Monkeys Quilt Sew on. Are you there? All right.
I'm here.
Hey, Angie.
How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Yeah, we only met that one time, right? I'm not mistaken. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and we didn't, well, it's good that we were busy, but we didn't get a chance to chat at all. So I literally started following you going, oh, yes, this is great. You're doing all the right things.
I remember chatting with you a little bit, and I told my husband, I was like, yeah, he's our people.
Yeah, right. I say it all the time. We smell our own.
We do. Yep. And I tell people all the time, I attract weirdos. So
I'll take that as a compliment. Fair enough.
I mean it as a compliment.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So, well, Angie, if you don't mind, introduce yourself so I don't butcher it.
So I'm Angie Lamoree. My husband and I own Five Little Monkeys Quilt Sew in Weaverville, North Carolina, which is just north of Asheville. So if you know where the Biltmore House is, my shop's about 15 minutes from the Biltmore House. So we are in the most beautiful mountains, the oldest mountains in the world, and we love it here.
That's amazing. I was actually born in Asheville.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I know. See, we didn't get any time to talk. But so I moved when I was like 2, so I didn't really get to grow up in Asheville, but we go back to visit the Blue Ridge Parkway and that whole area. My grandma lived in Maggie Valley. Like, I love it up there. It's gorgeous. Right. So what a spot for a quilt shop. Oh, that's amazing.
I mean, the art history in these mountains is old.
Yeah, right. So how long have you been there?
I've been a long armor for 18 years, and we've had the retail shop for 7. But I've lived in Asheville since 2008.
Oh, right on. Okay, so you've been there for a long time. Has it changed a lot? I've heard it's changed from, because I tell people I'm born there, they're like, oh, it's totally different now, like in a good way.
Yeah. Even since I moved here, because I was born and raised in Las Vegas, and then I moved here in 2008. And even in that time period, my husband and I have been married for 15 years, and even in the last 5 years, it's very different. So when I moved here, it was very artsy, really kind of hippie, funky vibe. And it's that vibe is still there, but the tourism has kind of run it over.
Oh, okay.
So it's hard to be your true, weird, authentic self and still attract tourists.
Well, but you're not stopping.
No,
you're not.
No.
Right.
I mean, we still do what we do, but yeah, it's not quite as raw funky as it was when I got here. So.
Sure. Well, and that is probably how I've heard people describe it. Oh yeah, Asheville hippie, and I'm
yeah,
like,
it was.
Well, okay,
it was really.
I was born like in '77, but right, cool.
It's a little more yuppie now than hippie. So.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right, but you're not planning on moving. You still love it, obviously, because you're always smiling. So,
I am, because I mean, I love it here, and our kids are all our youngest kid just started college, so we're kind of seeing the light at the end of that tunnel over there, and they all love it here too. I've got one that's moved away and one that's looking for a job that will very likely move him away, but they definitely call this home. And same thing, the funky vibe is just it's how we vibe. So
that's awesome. I love it. So you were a long armor before you opened the shop. So have you been sewing all your life? I mean, is this something?
Not kind of. My dad taught me how to sew because he owned an upholstery shop.
Oh, right on.
My mom would rather have a root canal than touch a sewing machine. Like, she has no desire. Neither one of my grandmothers were crafty. I have a couple of aunts that are super crafty and make stuff. But yeah, no, my mom thinks I'm crazy for doing all this stuff. She loves it because she'll show me a picture and she's like, hey, can you make me this?
Sure.
I do. But no, my dad is the one who gave me my first sewing machine when I was about 7 or 8 years old and taught me how to do that kind of stuff. But I started quilting when my youngest son was born, and he's 19 now. I just randomly walked into a shop and decided I was going to take a quilting class because I'm a firm believer that crafty people are born this way. We come out of the womb with the desire to make things.
To create. Yep.
We just do. It's just, you know, it's like being born any other way. You're born a crafter, you make things, and you make things is good for our mental health. Like when I'm not making things, my husband gets worried. Like if I'm not constantly fiddling with a thing, he's like, are you having a bad day?
Well, we can't turn it off, nor do we want to. It's great. Yeah. That's awesome.
So the fact that I can turn an income into the thing that I love to do so much, and not just an income, but I truly, honest to God, feel like my calling in this life is to teach people to make things with their hands, not just because it's pretty and not just because I can sell them fabric, but because I honestly believe that quilting is mental health. And for those of us that struggle with our mental health, I think it is a necessary avenue.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good perspective too. Well, I noticed on I think it was Facebook, in one of your social media, your tagline is, "Our passion is supporting all people in their desire to learn to sew and quilt." And I'm like, you're speaking my language. That's amazing. And it's obvious. And the people that are good at it, that are truly good at it, love it. Mm-hmm. You know, I was an artist. I've always been a drawer, painter. And I always joke about it, but this is the first job I've ever had that I can use my creativity. It's phenomenal. Like, we're so lucky to have this as a gig, you know?
Oh, fact.
I know.
I have a sign above my my studio space where I sew that says, "I know what my music is," because to me, the if you play piano and you are a concert pianist, you are giving that gift of your music to people. I can't play the piano. I can barely look at a piano, but sure. I feel like my gift, my music is not just teaching people how to quilt, but making it something that's enjoyable and good for them.
Yeah. So, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. All right. So I sent you a couple questions. We're just going to jump in if you're good with it.
Sure. Let's go.
All right. How do we create, and you do this all the time. This is probably an easy one for you. Well, I don't know if it is, but how do we create a new generation of sewer? How do we get people who aren't excited about sewing yet excited about sewing, about this industry?
In my experience, and again, I started quilting when I was in my early 20s. And so I was very much the freak, you know. I would go into quilt shops either by myself or with my small children at the time. And I've had people in quilt shops say, "Oh, you probably shouldn't bring your kids here."
Oh, come on.
Or, "Are you here with your mom?" I would get that question a lot. "Are you here with your mom? Are you looking for something for your mom?" And I was already a long arm quilter by that point. I was already a professional quilter. And I'm like, "No, my mom wouldn't be caught dead buying fabric. Like, it's not her thing." And my children grew up around fabric. They knew not to touch quilts. They knew not to, you know, they knew.
Right.
And yeah, so I had actually, when I lived in Vegas, I had a quilt shop that was walking distance from my house. Oh, and cool. I would drive 20 minutes to the other side of town to shop at a store that didn't treat me like a freak.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
20 years later, that shop's still there and the other one's not.
Yeah, right.
So that shop that I like, I still go there every time I go to Vegas. I still go into that shop, and it's like going home for me because it was a nurturing place for me to learn how to quilt. And I still have mad respect for that shop.
That's so cool. So actually my takeaway from that, and you know, I feel like, but I'll speak for myself. I feel like I have a responsibility to, you know, get people excited, the young generation, inspire them, motivate them, whatever you want to call it. And so when they come in, you should welcome them. You should be happy to see them. Like, it's mind boggling to me that, and sadly, I'm sure that there's still places that you would walk into and get that same sort of negative, you know, pushback as a young sewer. And that's crazy to me. So it's like our responsibility to make them feel excited, warm, and welcome.
I mean, absolutely. The same way that when they walk into a toy store, you know, they can get excited. For a crafter, for a maker, this is their toy store. And I have, so we have men that will drive an hour to come to our store for the same reasons, because we don't treat them like they're weirdos. I mean, they're weirdos because they're attracted to us, but it's not, it's
Good
not
weirdos.
the sewing that makes them weird.
Yeah, right.
My husband's a quilter. So I always say that quilting is not a straight old white lady sport.
Love that. True.
And that's
true.
what we think of. There's nothing wrong with that demographic by any means.
Sure.
I'm not shaming that in any way, but we need to change the picture in our head of what a quilter looks like. And I still get that all the time. I'll meet people in the airport or sitting on a plane or whatever, and I'm sitting there English paper piecing or whatever, and the person next to me inevitably always says, "Oh, what do you do?" And I say, "I'm a quilter." And they always say, "Oh, my grandma was a quilter." Yeah. And that's always the opening conversation, and that's fine with me. Sure. But your grandma wasn't always a grandma, and when she started quilting, she probably wasn't a grandma.
It's a very good point.
Most of us crafty people started doing this stuff at a much younger age than being gray haired. Yeah. And I always say that I was really fortunate in that I learned how to quilt in my early 20s. I spent a lot of time with women that were old enough to be my grandmother. And I learned a lot of amazing things from those women that had nothing to do with quilting.
Right.
And what the biggest thing I learned from those women aren't any different than they were when they were young. They just have a lot more years of experience of doing what they do.
A lot wiser.
So, just as much as I don't want to shame anybody for being an older quilter, I don't discredit the man or the child or the non-binary person that walks into my store. Those things don't even enter my head. To me, it's a person that wants to sew.
Absolutely.
And especially when kids come in the store, I always ask, "Hey, what are you making?"
Yep.
I don't even talk to mom half the time. I'm like, "Hey, what are you making?" And half the time it'll be the kid that's telling me about what they're making. And mom's like, "I got nothing. I don't even know."
She wanted to come here. He wanted to come here. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, and I always say that too. I'm like, crafters are born that way. So if you can nurture that, that's the thing that they're into, just as much as if they wanted to play soccer or they wanted to do whatever normal thing is.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's very true. And so, well, then I think that another easy answer for this is more people need to do exactly what you're doing and have a shop that is inviting and welcoming to all demographics, all ages, so keep doing that, because that's amazing. If a child could walk in there and you put a smile on their face, guess what? They're going to think about you. And also look what you've got in your shop, the color, the designs, it's so inviting and so happy, and you can't help but get excited, right?
People have this concept that quilting is sacred in some way. Right. And I'm not saying that it's not, because there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into this stuff. There's a lot of my soul and my essence that goes into what I make. Like, I take it seriously, but I'm not a brain surgeon. If I mess up that cut, nobody's going to die. There's, I might mess up something and I might have to start over, or I might just live with it. This is not brain surgery. There's my friend always says there's no heart in the cooler here. It's simply, and it's simply a project, and this is supposed to be fun. If you're getting stressed out about a hobby, then you either need to learn some more skills or simply change your mindset about it.
That's right. Look at it a different way. It's supposed to be fun. Absolutely.
Our grandmothers did this because they had to.
Very true. Now it is a hobby. It is absolutely a choice. You're right.
Right. So, and I think that's a key factor in bringing in people from the outside, people that don't fit the mold. There is no mold.
There's no mold. Right.
There's no mold,
Oh, absolutely right. Okay. So, and you've already given a few of them, but so if, what advice or tips would you give to not necessarily new sewers, but sewers in general, something that you just kind of always stick to and could pass on?
So the biggest thing I teach my people, my baby quilters, I call them, my biggest thing I teach my beginning quilters is the holy trinity of quilting is cut straight, a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and press with intention. And if you can do those 3 things, you can make anything. It takes practice to get to those 3 things.
Sure.
But if you can master those 3 skills, you're a quilter. And to get to those skills, I am a firm believer in the right tool for the right job.
Mm.
If you meet a woodworker and you walk into their garage and they've got 400 different screwdrivers, they will tell you what every one of those screwdrivers is for.
Right.
And we don't think that's weird. As a quilter, I literally probably own 120 different rulers that do different things. And they do different things because I always tell people I will gladly pay for perfection. So
Sure.
if I can make, you know, a 1.5 by 3 inch flying goose that's perfect, and I've got to pay $20 for the tool that does that, please take my money.
It's a wise investment.
If it's perfect and I only had to pay $20 to get a perfect flying goose and all my beaks are there, there's no shame in that.
Right.
I
And
mean,
the chances are you'll use that
about
ruler
that,
again.
especially with women. I do know what this is, but with women, we feel shame around things that should never carry shame. And one of those things we feel shame around is wasting money. So I bought that fabric and now I have to sew that fabric before I buy more fabric because I spent money on that fabric. I'm like, yeah, you spent money on those jeans that you don't look good either, but you don't feel bad about getting rid of those jeans.
You're going to get some more jeans, right?
You're going to get some more jeans. So if you don't like that fabric, get rid of it. Purge that stuff. Like purge the guilt. There should be no guilt based around your hobby ever.
I love that. That's
the same way a woodworker doesn't feel guilt about their screwdrivers.
About those 15 screwdrivers, and I still don't know what half of them are for. But you're right. A woodworker would know what they're for, and they would absolutely tell you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that the right tool at the right time, used the right way. I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but as a YouTuber, because I do have a YouTube channel where I teach you how to quilt, there's a lot of bad habits that can be learned on YouTube, especially for quilting. And if you're trying to be self-taught, there's no shame in that either, but just find good resources that are going to teach you skills, not hacks.
Yeah, there's a difference. You're right. And I talk about, and I'm pretty lazy. That's why I really don't do the traditional piecing type of quilting. I pretty much only do free motion, thread painting, things with no patterns, because that's me. Sure. But I encourage people to watch YouTube videos, but just be cautious of what information you're getting. You know, not everything on the internet is true or correct.
You think?
What a thought. Yeah.
The thing I do with my YouTube videos is I'll tell you something, but I tell you why. I don't just say this is how you do it and do it that way because I said to do it. I'm a Gen Xer, so I guess you probably are too. As Gen Xers, if you can give us the reasons why something works that way,
we're good.
Okay. Just tell me why. You know, we're the Y generation. If you tell me why, that works. If you just say, because that's how I do it, then that's not going to fly.
We're going to question that kind of authority.
Exactly. Question everything, demand proof. That's how we fly. So
you're absolutely right.
But like, for instance, this is the quilt I'm working on right now.
Okay. And if you're just listening, she's holding up, but what's that? What's the pattern? How would you?
This is a Magic Mariner's compass.
Oh,
but cool. Because of the tools I'm using, look at how perfect the points are.
Yeah, they are. Every single point is perfect.
Every single point is perfect. I am also a quick and dirty kind of girl. Like I want to get her done, but I want to get her done right.
Yeah.
And the tools that I use make this be a thing. This didn't take me very long. So that's my whole point. It doesn't have to be hard to be good. And it doesn't have to be painful to be quality. So
makes total sense, you know, and people need to hear that though, because, you know, it easier said than done at times when you're in the thick of it and but take a breath
and it'll all be okay.
And it'll be all right. Yeah. But you're right.
And when it's not okay, I'll show you how to work around it.
There it is. There you go. Look up Angie and you're good. She'll
take care
of you. Awesome. Okay. So where do you see this sewing industry? And when I say sewing, I could be talking about quilting, but I'm using that as a pretty broad description. So where do you see this industry in the next, say, 10 years?
I think that this industry, and same thing, sewing, quilting, homemaking, gardening, cooking, all of those domestic skills.
Yeah, sure.
Are all making a huge comeback because the same way everything cycles through in life.
It does, yeah.
You know, our generation, we didn't have anybody to teach us anything because our mother's generation, our our grandmothers. So for me personally, my grandmother was British and grew up during World War II. So she had a completely different world outlook than a lot of other people did. She wasn't crafty, but she could stretch a penny like nobody has ever met.
Yeah.
And she saw great value in the home life stuff. Okay, so she didn't have time to learn how to craft when she was hiding in bomb shelters. Like that just wasn't something that she was keen on. She didn't teach my mom any of that stuff. My mom's a baby boomer, so she didn't learn a lot of those things because they were busy, you know, fighting for women's lib.
Yeah,
which is a really great thing that we really truly appreciate.
Absolutely. Priority. That's good choice, Mom.
That's what their generation was doing, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
My generation, though, didn't learn any of those things because nobody was teaching those things to us.
True.
Now, millennials and Gen Zers, they're like, sourdough bread? That sounds brilliant. Did you know that bread could grow? For them, it's this amazing, enlightening thing that we've been doing for thousands of years. It was just what we all did. But there's this generational gap of that knowledge and that experience. And
social media and access to this kind of information is probably helping with that as well. The amount of people who are sharing this, you know,
you can just Google it.
Yeah, Google it.
You want to make sourdough? Google it. You want to make carrot cake? Google it. Like, you know, we had to go look in a Dewey Decimal System and like, you know, go find it. Like we had to go find it.
Yeah. It
Nowadays, there's no reason to not know how to do a thing that you want to know how to do.
Such a good point.
And I love that. And I think that generation specifically, so my children are all Gen Zers. So between the Gen Zers and the millennials, they really are craving that connection, the connection with their hands, with their souls, with their ancestors, with the nature, with the ground. They're craving that connection because there's been a disconnect for the last 3 generations of the earth and the cycles and the way things have always been with human beings. They're craving that connection to come back, which I personally see as a huge move to the right direction. Like we're going back to where we needed to go. Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff that we don't love, but I think those generations are craving that connection again. And I am personally all for that and feeding that desire to get back to our ancestral roots, and crafting and sewing and quilting specifically is generationally ingrained in us.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And you know, your kids are fortunate to have you, you know, and not everybody's parents are doing that. You know, my son, I only have one and he's 5. So I can't wait to, you know, start. He knows we own a fabric shop. That's what he calls it. And
does he have the gene?
He has the creative gene for sure. We tried soccer and he was like, I'm going to eat the cones. I was like, fair enough. All right. But you can tell he is very much like me in the sense where he does want to draw and create. And I see him wanting to do music. And so, and he loves making the little fabric videos when we do the unboxing, you know what I mean? Like
that's so cute.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, and if they've got the gene, nurture it, you know?
Yeah.
If he'd been all about a soccer ball, then nurture that, you know, it's
for sure. Well, and we say, well, what do you want to do? You want to play piano? You want to take a dance class? What do you want to do? Some karate? What do you want to do, bud? Like, I want to try everything, and whatever he finds, you know, is his lane, then we're going to push him, you know, support him.
So your kids are Ravenclaw is what you're saying.
Maybe.
Yep. We want to learn everything all the time. I just want to learn all the things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then he is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I support it just like you do. It's fantastic. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm so optimistic for the future of not only this industry, but all of the creative industries because, well, this younger generation is super, what's the word I'm looking for? They're organized. They're
a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they are. Absolutely. That's a good way to put it. And I tell you, when they want to get together and they want to do something, they're going to do it. And they have, you know, it's much easier to communicate with people and join forces nowadays than it was for us. So, you know, and I think that there's way more positive than negative. Obviously, there's negative stuff going on in the world, but there's so much good.
Mm-hmm. And I've told my kids that I personally find great encouragement by, I mean, revolutions have always been run by the young, always. So, you know,
True.
I've always told my kids that. I was like, you guys have the energy and the power and the brains to incur good on the world, you know, so go do that. Go be an encouraging force for the future. You don't have to tear stuff up, and you don't have to follow into what the naysayers say the young people are doing. Like, and they're not.
No.
You know, if you believe everything that the news tells you, then, you know, stay in your bunker. But I am a big fan of turn the news off and go outside and talk to people.
Oh, I'm with you 100%.
I haven't watched the news in 20 years, and I'm so much happier about it.
I know.
So,
you know, sometimes I feel a little bit guilty because I'm like, well, maybe some things ignorance is bliss. You know, I don't know. Like, I just don't like the negativity. And anyway, we won't go down that rabbit hole. But I'm with you.
The way I look at that is, if it's nothing I can personally have any impact on, then I can't do anything about it anyway. I can have impact on my neighborhood, on my town, on my family, on the people that walk through my front door. I can have impact on that.
That's really good.
And yeah, I know enough about I'm not ignorant. I know what's going on in the world, and I'm in tune to that, but I never turn on like the nightly news. You know, I'll turn on NPR or something to find out what's going on, but I don't get inundated with it.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, ignorance that was the wrong terminology, because I absolutely know what's going on, and that's why I probably choose not to turn on the news.
Right. I don't want the news to tell me what to think about it.
Yeah, that's right. And no matter which station you go to, it's propaganda. You know, that's, you know,
I already know what I think about things. I know that I have more power with love than hate. And I know that every person that I run into in the day-to-day is fighting their own battles and doing their own thing. And they deserve love more than hate, no matter what they look like, what they're dressed like, what, you know, that's the only gift I have to give. So why not give it, you know?
We'll keep giving it. Absolutely.
And I think the quilting world could really benefit from a lot more love than diversion. So
I agree with you 100%. I knew you were the perfect guest.
Well, this is always fun. I love talking about quilting with people who are not just beating people up all the time, you know?
No, absolutely not.
I can't. And on both sides, I feel like sometimes you can get beat up with the positive as well. You know, I feel like there's a place for everybody. There's a place for everybody except the hateful. Yeah.
There's no place for you. No room for you.
There isn't. And you've had your time. And so now we're going to do this instead. So
yeah, move along. Yeah, it's our turn. That's exactly. Right.
So I think that the future of the sewing industry is delightful and powerful, but like everything else, it has to evolve to fit what is current and to fit what is needed at the time.
Yep.
You know,
I agree.
So, and I think that doing things like this is going to do that.
I hope so. I mean, that honestly, having conversations with people and just trying to spread the word of what the good, there's so much good happening in this industry that people don't know about. And I think that was my main goal. So, and thanks to you and other people, I'm finding that, hey, there's a lot of us. And so if we can all kind of start join forces on our own, you know what I mean? I think that this industry is just going to get better and better and better.
I agree. Truthfully. I agree. And as somebody who's a bit more vocal about what I think and what I want to see in the world, there are some people that have unfollowed me or sent me some messages that are a little less than kind, but that's okay. That's their prerogative. But I get a lot more love mail than I get hate mail.
Absolutely.
And so that tells me I'm doing something right. So
yeah.
And I have a coffee cup that says I'd rather be somebody's shot of tequila than everybody's cup of tea.
That's good.
And I think that that's the case for most of us. We just want to find where we fit in.
That's great. Absolutely. And the people that think like you and that enjoy your perspective are going to be drawn to you. Right. And the others aren't, and that's perfectly fine. And but we love weirdos, though. That we've made that clear. Exactly. We're pro weirdo over here.
Yes, we are.
Okay, I'm going to throw you a curveball. I've been doing something. You probably haven't listened to any of the episodes because it's just been started. But I do a little speed round just because I'm curious. Doesn't really have anything to do with sewing. Well, anyway, I'm just going to jump into it. What's your favorite color?
Red.
said that fast. You're the second person that said red. I'm surprised by that. Okay. And as a shop owner, you feel free to pass, but what's your favorite brand of machine?
I'm a brother girl.
Okay.
My Luminaire she's a sexy sewing machine.
Oh. Luminaire and the Solaris, probably the greatest machines on the planet.
There you go.
I say it all the time.
I always say she does everything but make my coffee.
Yeah, we say make dinner, but fair enough. Yeah. Same thing. Right. All right. Favorite band, or if you don't have a favorite band, type of music.
Oh, so my music collection is very eclectic. Again, I'm a Gen Xer, so you put on some good 90s hip hop, I can jam to that, but I'm also a bit of an emo girl.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, same. Like, I'm a big hip hop guy, but I also love the Grateful Dead. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I used to always say that people would probably be embarrassed if they knew the kind of music that their quilts were around when I was quilting them.
Right.
Because when I free motion quilt, I put my earbuds in with like dubstep, because the rhythm of the music is the easiest for me to free motion quilt to.
I do like some dubstep. I was a drum and bass DJ for years.
Oh, there you go.
Look at this. I'm telling you. All right. 2 more. Desert Island Movie.
Desert Island Movie.
You know what that means? I've asked 3 people, what's your favorite movie? If you were stuck on an island and you could only watch one movie for the rest of your life. As You Wish. Absolutely.
My shirt's too tall, but
I can't. Sorry.
It says As You Wish.
Does it really? Oh, that's amazing.
My daughter has the matching one.
She's showing her tattoo that says that. And if you don't know what that means, go watch Princess Bride.
It means I love you.
Absolutely. It means I love you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can tell. You probably can't see back there, but that is a legend. Tom Cruise legend.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
Soundtrack. Oh, yeah. I'm 80s movie freak. Never Ending Story. Anyway. All right.
The Never Ending Story. Yes.
People said, I did some sort of, I forget what it was, a presentation, and they said, give us something that no one knows about you. And I said, I cry every time Artex dies still.
Oh, dude, it's traumatic. The reason that Gen X acts the way we do is because of stuff like that. We've been traumatized since birth. Between like the Labyrinth and the Never Ending Story, we have really weird ideas of what a prince looks like.
I know.
Thank you, David Bowie. And, our horses all died.
I know, it's horrible.
It's horrible.
All right. All right. Lastly, I've already kind of mentioned it, but where can people find you? Like if
everywhere.
Yeah, I know, everywhere. So, well, how about this? What do you have coming up that maybe you want to share?
So I am the Block Ambassador teacher. So I travel around the country and I teach people how to do things like this with this level of detail, because I teach the Block rulers. It's how the quilt behind me was made 12 years ago. This isn't a new thing for me. It's the way I've always made the accuracy of my quilts. So I do that. I travel around and I go to guilds and I go to shops and I go to quilt shows and I teach those techniques. We go to quilt shows. I teach on YouTube. So I have a new Block series coming out on my YouTube channel. So if you buy a ruler and you don't remember how to use it, go on my YouTube channel. I show you how to use it. I show you quilts it's used in. I love to teach people to quilt. And during COVID, I found that YouTube was the way to do that. Yeah. So if you have a technique you're wanting to learn, applique or whatever, quilt as you go, whatever it is, subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is 5 Little Monkeys Quilt and Sew. Search that technique. I probably have a video. I teach you on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And then physically in our shop most of the time.
That's awesome.
So.
And it's 5 Little Monkeys Quilt and Sew across all platforms. Same name?
It is. Our website is 5monkeyquilts.com.
Okay.
But you can find all our socials at the bottom of that. Or, if you just Google us, we come up pretty easily.
So Google her now.
Google us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Seriously, it was so much fun talking. I knew it would be. And we could talk hours about 80s films, clearly.
Oh,
and probably
yes,
sounds like dubstep and a lot more. But and I want to have you down here to teach for sure at some time. So we'll chat at some point.
We're coming through Florida in January to do some teaching and stuff. So
I think we briefly talked about it. So, okay, I'm going to reach out to you. We're going to make that happen. That'd be amazing because you're doing awesome things. So best of luck in the shop and everything you guys are doing. And thank you again.
So much fun. Any way I can support this podcast, you let me know.
I really appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.